And hey, welcome back to the new pub. This is the new table, the new design, and this is Pub Wisdom number 11. Bring it in. We've got Comic Book Rob here, and always Johnny Pat, so
the wild card.
The wild card of our group.
I don't know why, but they do.
Tends to say things that, Anyway, so we're catching back up with Comic Book Rob. It's been a little while, and Rob, you've been to a Comic-Con recently, right? And,
yes, I have.
So, any adventure stories you want to have from that, or?
Well, you went to the one in Detroit.
Yeah,
I went to Motor City Comic.
Oh, nice.
I usually tend to about maybe 2 or 3 Comic Cons per year. Comic Cons are really good places to go if you do want to do sightseeing. It's okay there because there's plenty of cosplay. There's so much going on. It is a huge pop culture event for most people that are into the comic book world, or even anime or other things like Star Trek or Star Wars. It's a good place for everybody to meet up. Comic Cons in general have a tendency to get famous writers and actors involved, and you can get autographs, signatures.
Yeah, for sure.
If you want to increase the value of your comic, they have certain writers that show up there. The Motor City Comic Con is one of the biggest Comic Cons in the state of Michigan. Right now, Astronomicon's kind of trailing behind them. That's a very.
Where's that located?
Well, they have them at different locations every year.
Oh, okay. So you just gotta look them up and find them.
And it's usually like
the Motor City was in Novi.
Yeah, it was in Novi this year.
Is that always there, or is it?
I thought it would have been at the Kobo Center.
It's been there. The center that they had it in, I can't remember. My son knows the name of it, but man, it was huge. It was about the size of Gibraltar Trade Center, man. That's how big this thing was.
So a very, very big location.
Well, Comic Cons in general, I think just because of the MCU, are starting to grow.
Yeah.
They're growing in such.
Well, you probably add another dimension of clients, right, that are going to come and visit.
Low key.
I remember my dad took me. This was the first big Motor City Comic Con. I've not been to the Motor City Comic Con since I was 15. My dad brought me to the Motor City Comic Con when I was 15 years old, like in 1989. And I actually picked up my very first videotape copy of Heavy Metal there.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Oh,
man, I love Heavy Metal.
And I wore that thing out, man.
Heavy Metal 2000, that's such a good movie.
Yes.
Animated movie.
And, well, this was at the time when Amazing Spider-Man 300 was really hot. I mean, it was really hot. I can remember all my friends that read comics were just going on and on about Amazing Spider-Man number 300. It was like the first full appearance of Venom. They were like, man, Venom is such an awesome character. Mm-hmm. And they were really liking it. It put a very interesting spin on the Spider-Man story arc. And I just, at the time, it was a real big, hot comic at the Comic-Con that I went to.
Now, do you know if symbiotes were already invented then, or did Venom come first and then the symbiote stories after?
Yeah, they built the symbiote stories around Venom.
Yeah.
There's a planetary origin. Venom comes from a planet. They have a planet of symbiotes.
Yeah.
They actually have I think in 2017 they released the first appearance of Null, which was the symbiote god.
Yeah, he's like the king of the symbiotes or whatever.
And they did what was it? I want to say it was the Black story with Venom, and where they actually took down Null. And in this one, I mean, he's going to return. They always do.
Yeah.
But
of the many rewrites that tend to happen.
I was going to say, low key, I've always wanted to go to Comic Con and never had.
Same here. So I think there's one coming in November, a Motor City Comic Con in November or October.
Motor City Comic Con has 2 Comic Cons per year, but they've done one in March, and then they've done the recent one in May.
Okay. So I thought there was one coming in fall sometime. If so, maybe we should do a little remote filming.
I think it'd be cool.
Be kind of fun and check that out.
At least go either way.
We could have Rob be our tour guide, and then we could try to interview some cosplay.
I already said to my son.
Which, by the way, is a phenomenal talent to put those costumes together, and some of them are very, very,
Oh
very
my
well
god,
done.
I
the work
recall
that
my
they
son-
put into them things.
it's
Oh my
incredible.
gosh! I mean, we see it a lot at Renfest when we go to Renfest. and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
But
there's another place.
like
Yeah,
Comic Con, those guys I think they go above and beyond.
yeah, they
like
probably
Renfest.
start like right after they're done with one, and then a year later they're working on, been working on it all year. But anyway, that's for another discussion. So we're kind of getting caught back up with Rob, and I think there's a couple things you wanted to say that pertain to our last podcast when you were here with Johnny Pat, or
Yeah, Johnny Pat, I do owe you an apology here, and I want to say it while we're on camera in front of everybody. We were talking about a topic of the origins of Deadpool, and you brought up
I
the
remember
fact
a little bit. Yeah.
that Deadpool, his origins were tied in with Lady Death, and I disagreed with it, and I at the time I was thinking that his origins was tied in with Weapon X, which they are, but I did not, I didn't, at the time I did not remember what I had within, past readings of the book, and I just want
rusty.
I didn't remember much. I just remember there was like a relationship there.
You're probably having a drunken memory.
there was, and
so many things going on up here. I just don't really know anymore.
well,
Some of the squirrels get out of the cage.
as a token of my apology, I want to give you this.
Oh, you ain't giving me nothing, man.
Yes,
Are you kidding?
I'm giving that
I'll
to
let you look at it.
No, you ain't doing that, man.
That right there is the origin story to
You can
Deadpool.
almost see his face right through his mask. You can see his emotion. You know what I mean?
You know what's on the other side of that?
Wow, look at that, dude. You're kidding, dude.
On the
No,
other
you
side-
didn't do that.
On the other side of that comic is Lady Death holding him.
Oh, yeah?
Yes,
No kidding.
That is the complete full origin story to Deadpool.
Wow, dude. You gotta be kidding me.
It is extreme. It's a rare comic. I have 2 of them.
I see Lady Death's hand here actually holding him.
Yes.
That's Lady Death's hand there.
And-
Wow.
That comic book,
let
the
me-
significance of that
Hold it up for
is
you.
parts of that comic book. Ryan Reynolds used that in
his
Deadpool.
no kidding.
Not only that, this comic book right here, it shows Wade Wilson before he's disfigured.
Because he got disfigured in the Weapon X project, right?
Yes,
That's
at the beginning of this comic, he's signing up
for
this.
the project.
Yes. Well, they
Wow,
call it,
dude. My heart is so warm right now, dude. I don't even know what to say, Rob.
well, I
I'm
want.
glad that you left us as a surprise and before when we was in the garage just bullshitting a little bit
Yes.
there. I'm glad that you didn't bring
Well,
it.
I can
Wow,
tell you right
dude.
now, the condition that it's in right now, it is close to mint. If you decide to have that
Never
plastic-
removed from box.
Trust me, this will never be. This is going in the collection itself, man. Wow, dude.
right now in the condition that it's in,
it's
it's
just
only
amazing.
it's only worth maybe about $40 the condition that it's in. But
yeah.
if you take it and have it pressed and graded, it'll probably get anywhere from $200 to $500 for that.
Yeah,
Yes.
man, dude. I don't even know what to say.
Well,
You just raised the bar, dude. You
I
raised
come
the
on
bar
the
for the
show-
rest of us.
Yeah,
now,
man.
what do you got for me, Jason? you got something for me too? Coming up here on
Well, I
podcast
do-
all these times?
I do
I
have
pay in
something.
beer.
Jason, I have something for you.
Oh, me too.
I want to give
Oh,
this to
wow, dude.
you. It's early Todd McFarlane art. It's the first
My
full
favorite
appearance
artist.
of Eddie
I
Brock.
tried to emulate this guy in my early days of drawing. I would take a Todd McFarlane drawing and try to draw it the best I could and harness my skills around. This is impressive. Black suit Spider-Man too. So this
Yeah.
is really early Todd McFarlane stuff.
I want to do that to express my gratitude for having me
man.
on the show, man.
It's amazing, dude.
I
Thank you.
appreciate you guys. I appreciate you, Jason, for having me on the show.
Oh my gosh.
I wanted to come on here and present you guys with something nice.
Thank you so much, man. This is so freaking cool.
I know, dude. That's amazing, man.
Yeah, that comic book's
gonna
right
make
there
me wanna start
values at
drawing
about
again. I mean-
$75.
Let me see. Yeah, so I just read a thing about how Black Suit Spider-Man,
Yeah.
not the Venom Spider-Man, but the Black Suit Spider-Man is like the most popular Spider-Man suit now. One of them.
And So correct me if I'm wrong, but what I recall from many years ago, Todd McFarlane chose the suit for Spider-Man because it was easier to draw than drawing the freaking web all over him, right?
Yeah.
Because he was really detailed. I remember my brother having my older brother had a giant poster of a Todd McFarlane Spider-Man. The detail was unreal. There were spiders crawling all over him. He was in the middle of a giant web, and there were spiders crawling all over him. It was just really crazy looking. But I mean, just the level of detail in the drawing was amazing.
Take a look at that right there. It was 75 cents when it was purchased.
So I
It's
actually
worth $75. That's the value on it.
So I actually took my daughters out to buy a couple comic books today, and they were like $4 or $5 each. So I mean, extrapolate that from 75 cents, way back in the day.
That came out in the late 19. It was
pretty early 90s, late 80s. Okay.
88.
So yeah,
Phenomenal,
the only reason I even know that stuff about Deadpool is just when I first learned about him. I mean, he was such an interesting character and an anti-hero that I instantly just fell in love with him, And this is long before the movies came out and anything. And a lot of you guys know me. I say chimichangas a lot, and that's where that came from Deadpool.
I think that's one of the first things I caught when you and I were talking. The chimichangas. I'm like,
we like took a drink or something. I'm like chimichangas.
Well, I want to apologize to the audience. Me coming on here talking about comic books, it's a big deal for me, and I want to present the truth. I mean, I made a mistake in my memory of reading that book, and you were right. But kind of in a sense I was too, because that is connected to the Weapon X.
I want to read it, but I don't even want to take it out of the packaging.
See, here on Pub Wisdom, we are big enough to apologize for things we've done wrong, even though I'm perfect. But anyway,
yes, he's perfect,
perfectly imperfect.
Nice way of putting it. Thank you. That might be one of our shirts.
Yeah. No, wow, Rob, that's just huge right now, man. Wow, thank you, dude. Like I said,
Blown away.
Really cool.
Didn't have to do that.
Made me feel bad. I don't have nothing here for you,
I know he actually gave my daughters each a comic book too. I'm like, those were old Todd McFarlane.
They were Todd McFarlane art. Spider-Man.
Oh wow.
I mean, wow. So it's kind of cool. My daughters are kind of into the comic book stuff, but they're more from the MCU. I mean, my daughters are young, but it's really cool to see that.
Well, Ava was Scarlet Witch for Halloween or something, right?
She was, and she showed Rob some of her drawings. I don't know if she showed you that or not, but she's drawn her own comic book.
Just Pumpkinhead, that's all I know.
I mean,
she's drawn her own comic book of...
The comic books today gave them really high in value, but they are Todd McFarlane art. Mm-hmm. And Todd McFarlane is a huge piece of comic book history.
For sure.
He's like a Hall of Famer when it comes down to artists and writers.
Ava, like me, really I would look at the comic books just for the artwork, because I was like an aspiring artist at the time, and so I would try to copy pages from the comic books. And
I'm also a big Ed McGuinness fan. Ed McGuinness did a lot of artwork for Deadpool. He did some for the Red Hulk too. In fact, that Red Hulk that I showed you.
See, I don't know nothing about the artists and like the background and writers or directors of this stuff. I don't know nothing about that. I just enjoyed the comics, the stories.
Well, I wanted to do
and what they pertain to us. How it relates.
Well, when we look at comic books and we look at comic book characters, we see ourselves in them.
Yeah,
and that's what gives a comic book character. The reader draws into the comic book character because they see themselves in that character. Mm-hmm. Some of the one of my intents when YouTube first came out was to start a podcast around comic books, but there's other YouTubers and have their channel. There's other channel runners that they have a podcast very similar to mine, and my ideas. So I didn't want to. I never pursued it because I did not want to.
If you didn't see the first one,
I don't know.
Sorry.
I didn't want to seem like I'm mimicking somebody else.
Yeah. That's always and that's what's so funny in today's world, though, too. Even if you look on like Facebook Reels, people are regurgitating other people's work left and right. If you look at Hollywood, it's all where's the new content? Where's the new? Let's redo Little Mermaid. Let's redo all these other shows. Let's redo them. And it's like, I mean, that's fine because I like to go back in history too. There is definitely a sense of a nostalgic element there, but where's the new stuff too, you know? Right. And that's kind of frustrating to me.
And I want to see originals. I want to see new and original movies. That's something that inspires me and takes my mind in a direction. And you go to a movie to be entertained, and take that movie, entertain me for a couple hours, and take my mind off whatever life is throwing at me, and that's kind of cool. But I don't want to keep seeing the same things regurgitated over and over again.
Well, sorry,
I'll let you talk now.
Everything is.
I want to get back to the next point.
Well, there's a guy that runs a YouTube show. His name is Quinones. He runs a TV show for an organization called Variant, and he does everything comics. And the way he runs his show is kind of like the way I wanted to run mine. He gets into character history, origin, power stats, abilities, and he covers every single character across the board. Mm-hmm. We're talking like from X-Men, Marvel, DC, Image. He even gets into some Dark Horse comics too, and he does a spectacular job. I watch his show quite a bit.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out. It sounds like
if you want a good recommendation, if anybody's into comic books right now,
there, you know,
watching Quinones and his on his show Variant on YouTube. He's a very knowledgeable person when it comes down to comic books, and he's very all audience. He's more general audience. All audiences can watch, even kids. He keeps the show really clean. I like a lot of everything that he does on there. He's really good if you're just getting into comics and you want to know something about characters and abilities and origin stories. He's really good to watch.
To be honest, my comic book geekdom has just come and gone throughout the years. But what I do occasionally, like before a conversation with Rob, if I know there's a specific character we're going to talk about, I will go to a lot of those YouTubers and then just get up to speed really fast. And I think it's kind of helpful, but there's a lot of people that dedicate their lives toward that kind of content, and I think it's really cool. They're very informative, and it's kind of like one of those things. You want to escape, but you want to get a little deeper into some characters. Mm-hmm. These people put their views on it, and it's like, it's interesting insight. It's like listening to another person's view on a topic like that. It's really kind of cool. So I think there's a lot of good stuff out there. But I think what you were getting to, we were talking about rehashing stories of Hollywood, kind of caught in a loop now. But I want to get to kind of a point I want to get to is how comic book characters have evolved, like from their origins, like from their absolute origins. And we were lucky enough to have a neighbor come over prior to all this, and he brought some very old comic books down, like some of the original comic books. And we're looking at this stuff. Rob's jaw dropped. He was stunned, and I was like, "Wow, man, we got Rob impressed."
Made me uncomfortable. I'm like, "God damn, what the hell, Rob? Why are you like shaking right now?" God damn.
He's kind of starting to swoon over
everything. You've been pulling back out just so I can see him, and I have no idea what I'm looking at. You know what I mean?
So, but how initially a character is invented, and they have a story, they have an origin, all that stuff, and then their abilities are X, right? And then later it comes around and like, we want to reinvent that, and we start over. Maybe another writer comes in, takes over. I think sometimes it's the artist that does some of the writing, and sometimes they want to add something to the character or give them a new ability or something else. And then we're dealing with characters like Batman and Superman, like 80 years old now, and they've been rewritten almost as many times, if not more, right? And varying storylines and their
there's
powers.
Like sun-dripped Superman.
Their powers.
There's like so many different variants.
Superman Prime 1 million.
Yeah. Right, and they've added abilities to these characters that they didn't originally have. I mean, even as a kid, what was the original thing about Superman? He could leap a tall building in a single bound and
faster than a speeding bullet.
Yeah,
which realistically,
pretty quick.
A speeding bullet is fast for sure.
Pretty quick.
But when you come from now, you're racing the Flash. The Flash is much faster than a speeding bullet.
What's the development?
It's like a story that one ups, and like you add another character, right? So this character's that. No, this guy writes it, and that character's that. And it just kind of keeps evolving over time. And
somehow Batman keeps up with all of them with nothing. I'll get it.
Well, Rob, we won't get into that one. We already mentioned that.
Have a new last.
But Batman's a great case where he started out as like a detective, you know, and it's just very, very, very low key kind of stuff, right? And,
well, with the development of physics and science, it made an improvement on superheroes. More of an understanding that we had.
That's a good point.
We were able to implement certain things differently, and
just to bring up some controversy here, but that is really why I'm more of a Marvel fan than I am of DC, because when they did evolve, there was not only I don't want to say scientific, we're talking about superheroes and shit, but there was a level to it. You know, when Thor fly, he didn't just fly, he had to spin his hammer like a helicopter and use that to fly, you know, and you know, Spider-Man was always holding back. So he slowly stopped holding back as he grew into a much more of a superhero than just a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
A little more cohesiveness to their storylines, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the ones that get me is when they completely change a character, and it throws me off. And that's kind of why. Then that's where Hollywood has gotten into their little remakes now, and it's really kind of driving me crazy because they're adding new identities, they're adding all kinds of stuff that that shouldn't exist anymore. And we've got a good character, we've got a good storyline, and all of a sudden now we're adding in these brand new ways of thinking that really don't hold up well. And these stories will prove out over time not to hold up well. And they're doing it to everything right now, and you see everybody's just like, I don't like this, not watching it. Everything's starting to tank.
Yeah.
And
well, I think that's all really has to relate to monetary reasons, because Matt Damon gives a really good interview about this, and he was saying that directors and producers aren't working as hard to create good stories because DVD sales are no longer around. It's all streaming. Everything is streaming, and it takes away from their whatever. I don't know how it works, but it takes away from them dramatically. So now people just aren't putting in the effort to make good movies, Good Will Hunting, or any good, you know, storylines or casting and stuff like that, you know?
There's another aspect to that one of my favorite YouTubers, the Critical Drinker, has brought forth, and he said that a lot of the people that are writing now are not people that have been through things in their lives.
Yeah.
They haven't had any real trials in their lives, so they don't understand what a real trial is. So they can't write about it effectively.
If you can't relate to it, you're never going to be able to put in the emotion on paper if you've never lived through it and never felt it. You just won't.
And he lists some great examples. You think about like J.R.R. Tolkien, who wrote Lord of the Rings. I mean, he lived through some stuff. He lived through World War I and even World War II. It's like, but he was able to write with those experiences, and that kind of draws you in because it's so realistic. Because he knows the fear, he knows the pain, he knows what you really have to go through. And modern writers, I mean, what are their age group, right? I don't know, probably under 30. You know?
Probably some kids out of college with a writing degree.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So think about that, like a writing degree, right? Or you can just learn how to write through trials. However, I saw a meme one time that said something about, you know, there was artwork, and it's like Picasso and all these other great Da Vinci, blah blah blah, and then you say now you got college degrees in art, and it's like a banana duct taped to a wall.
I've seen that, and I kind of want to go off on that a little bit because that is
kind of like our modern writing, you know.
Well, it's with everything. It pertains to everything. And so they put the banana on the wall, and it was, I don't know, I can't remember the story about it, but it had some high number value to it, and it was something so stupid, right? And what's funny about that is Payless. If you guys look this up, I can't remember what it's called, but Payless did this social experiment where they took all their shoes and they rebranded them, and they rebranded the store to Palazzo. And they increased the prices on all their shoes. $19.95 shoe, and now it's $250. And people were coming in there and going and paying that money And they would buy these shoes. Now later on, they did give their money back and let the people keep the shoes. But you should just see what the people are saying about it. Oh yeah, high quality, this and that. I can tell this is made really nice.
Perception
and so
versus
it's
reality.
a social construct of like what is supposed to be or not. And that's how stupid. I shouldn't say stupid, but that's how majority of people think, is on a status and not on the content of it, the structure of it, what it actually is.
How easily
they go, oh, this is $500 pair of shoes, this must be nice. Really, they're fucking $5 shoes from Payless, and you just don't know. So you can now make your, it's just crazy to me the way people think about stuff nowadays. It's just crazy to me. But that alone, I think, has also dumbed down the evolution of not only superheroes, but everything around us. You know what I mean? Make it cheaper.
Our world in general is just like, it's almost like become tacky almost.
Yeah, as long as it still sells, it's good.
Right, that's it.
Why would you want your name attached to that? You know what I mean?
Well, there's a lack of creativity in everything. Not just comic book writing, but when it comes down to movies in general, or just entertainment in general, there seems to be a lack of creativity in things. I mean, it's not to say that people don't put out good movies, because there's still been some good movies that come out.
But yeah, for sure. Sure.
But the majority overall is not looking good.
There's a certain aspect of when they start to getting back to how Hollywood rehashes, like they try to do sequels and prequels, and sometimes, excuse me, the one that really gets me is when they do prequels. And when they do prequels many years later, all the technology is better, they can have much better special effects and much better writing, but they take something like, what I grew up with Star Wars, the original 3. Luke Skywalker was, the main protagonist through all that, and he was he really didn't have that great of abilities when you really watch those movies. And then you go backwards in time and you do the prequels, and you see these Jedi in action, and Luke Skywalker is supposed to be this super powerful Jedi, but you see these basic Jedi who are well trained doing things that Luke Skywalker, you can never see him do. And it's like they look like they're parkouring everywhere. And
he wasn't like fully trained in the first three.
Okay, yeah, you can get nerdy about that. But,
I mean, I like Star Wars a lot. So we can go off this one.
Well, here's where I'm going, and then you go into the
Disney side of things.
The Disney sequels.
Oh my God, it's terrible.
And they have that new attitude where, especially it's a strong female character, and she really doesn't learn anything, and all of a sudden she can just do whatever. And it's like whatever the scene needs. Okay, she can now control people's minds. Okay, she can now wield a lightsaber and beat a guy who's been trained. And it's like, okay, and then she's training with Luke, but she really doesn't do much with Luke, and she kind of trains herself and doesn't really need Luke, and just keeps more or less insulting him the whole way. And it's like, why are you putting down the heroes we once had? But the elevation, if you line up the stories all together, nothing seems to really coordinate well, because I don't think they did a good job in that.
It's Disney. Disney destroys everything they touch.
True.
they literally destroy everything they freaking touch, man. They used to be good.
They really all. I mean, even when you go back to the original artwork and the original cartoons, Disney movies, they took an old story, whether it's Snow White or Cinderella or some of those other ones. If you go back and read the original stories of what those are like, some of them are pretty terrifying. And they soften those up quite a bit to make them for children. And even then, I have this conversation with even my mother. Disney always seems to be able to wipe out the parents, and the children always seem to kind of get along and do things and be just fine. And it's like, when you become an adult and you have a kid and you watch those Disney movies, like, man, I don't want to be one of the parents in that movie. They always die.
Like violent. Damn.
But there's more horrific things in the original tales than what they laid out. And I mean, that was some of my exploration in mythologies and stuff like that. And you kind of come across some of these old fairy tale stories and like, where do they come from? And it's like, man, some of them didn't end well. but Disney changed it around. So, but Disney's been screwing with stuff all along. However, recent years Disney they've been really screwing things up to the point where it's going to be unwatchable, and hopefully it'll be a forgotten era in the future of some of those movies.
Well, they did a good job with the Deadpool movies. I think those were still, was that Sony?
That was Fox. Yeah.
That was Fox?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it was Sony.
Sony, okay.
Was it? No, it was Fox.
But they do own the rights now, though, don't they? I think.
Which we keep hearing rumblings from our YouTubers.
It's Fox Disney.
Yeah.
But that project, to the best of my knowledge here, is under control by Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Good hands.
Disney doesn't really have too much say-so on what goes on with that. Ryan Reynolds is like...
I hope not, because they'll just ruin that too.
Well, he stepped in at Fox, and he took over at Fox too. When it was Fox, a lot of the writing for that script came from him.
Yeah.
Everything in that movie.
That's probably why it was so good.
That's why it was... Because Ryan Reynolds...
It was really good.
Ryan Reynolds...
too.
If you read that comic, you'll see that there's story adaptation between Deadpool 1 and that. You're going to see parts of Deadpool 1 in there, but you're also going to see things in that comic book that were not connected to the... but overall, Ryan Reynolds stuck with a lot of source material. Not just that, he fits Deadpool to the bill.
Yeah, but that's what being a good actor is. And like... I don't know how the whole theater thing goes. Or
Ryan Reynolds skipped over college to go to acting.
Yeah, no shit. Good choice.
He's no college.
I know he started off in some adult stuff.
I thought he spent like 7 years in college. Well, that's Van Wilder.
It might have been Van Wilder, but he's Canadian. Everybody knows that, but he is in charge of a lot of Deadpool. He has bottom line say so.
Well, I did read that they are making this like the first Disney rated R movie.
It is.
Like ever or something like that.
My Disney Plus app has parental coding on there because of him.
No shit.
Yes, wow. Because Disney is a PG family.
Yeah.
Always been that way. But in order for them to make that movie rated R, they now gave it... Their app has parental coding on it.
Yes.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I've had to utilize that. Yeah.
But yeah, you know what I mean. I'm excited for that though. I hope it does a good job there.
Quick sidebar story. My daughters were quite young, and I have the picture. Maybe I'll have to put it up here. We were at the movie theater. I think the first Deadpool movie was cycling in the theaters, and my oldest was quite young, and she saw a picture. It's like I think he's sitting like in a chair, and you can actually kind of like. It's a cardboard cutout, but you can kind of like sit in his lap or something. My daughter's like, "Oh, look, Spider-Man!" And she goes run over and she kind of sits in like, "Okay." And I took a picture of it. But yeah, it's like, it'll be funny much later. But she's still not old enough to watch it yet. So
that fourth dimension,
yeah, breaking the fourth wall. Yeah. No, it's quite funny. And like I said, I've said this before. You're a reflection of the 5 or 6 people you keep closest to you, and it's like I always hold number 6 as Deadpool. That's how I keep my number 6. Mm-hmm. So I love his sarcastic wit and the fact
too.
I'm on road.
Oh my gosh, Rob's having a tough time drinking that beer, huh? That's a strong one there.
Yeah, man, that's a sipping beer, man. You don't want to chug that one there.
Knock a few of them back.
So I think with that,
podcast.
we're about ready for our first break, and we'll get right back at it when we come back.
Chimichangas.
I'm mostly blind. Gotta start doing some things differently at the pub. Like car reviews, test driving. Like this car here. They tell me it's got full self-driving. We'll find out. We'll find out how good it is. Where's the door handle?
Bring us minds of beer. Don't drink, you can live. Bring us minds of beer. We gonna drink now and here. Bring us minds of beer. Don't drink, you can live.
Simpler times. All right, we're back, guys. I'll zoom out here. And what I want to bring this back around to is It showed a clip about a movie from the first Conan movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and is talking. It's like him and Subutai sitting around the campfire talking about what gods do you pray to. And I think it's a really cool scene because I think it's one of those glimpses that Hollywood actually used to give us about real things that used to happen. Like, and granted, Conan was developed in the world of Robert E. Howard, and Robert E. Howard adapted a lot of things from mythologies, and Norse mythology is one of them. But he wrote about a time kind of like a prehistory kind of time, and people and barbarians and roaming the earth, and kingdoms conquering each other, blah blah blah. But these societies would run into each other, and they would worship different gods, and they would have these little conversations around a campfire when things weren't written down. And I think some of those escalations, how, okay, my god's this or my god's that, and then maybe next time, you proved your god's stronger than mine, so maybe next time I'm going to come up with a better story. And I think that's how some of these stories evolve through myths. And like the ancient Greek myths are often looked upon as like the comic book heroes of their time, right? Hercules being one of the greatest. And but I think those stories were probably exaggerated and grown over time. And I think the same thing is happening here within our lifetimes of comic books. It's kind of just a newer version of it. I mean, you can get some really religious people think, you shouldn't read comic books because you're worshiping, blah blah blah. But it's.
But then they'll go and watch Hellraiser. You know what I mean?
That's the devil. No, but I mean, I think that kind of relates how there's almost like a cycle of time that kind of keeps repeating itself. And like the ancient Greeks had their stories, and sometimes their stories would elevate and grow. Exaggerations would happen. So think about like the ancients and how the most powerful thing to them was lightning. And that's all the chief gods are all like lightning gods.
Because anything fucking lightning touches is gone.
Right. But now we have like the nuclear bomb, right? So a nuclear bomb's way more powerful than a lightning bolt. But we have things in our technology that have shown us that there are greater powers. And if you look at the astronomical power levels of some of the superheroes nowadays, and where did that come from? That's just like escalating. I got a new character, and he's going to be more powerful than your character. And then, okay, the next guy comes around. No, I don't like that. I'm going to rewrite this guy as actually more powerful, or they gain a new ability, and it just kind of keeps going up and up like that. And I think that's happened with both religions that become myths, and then now it's our modern day version of it. I think is like our comic book stories and our heroes of our time, and kind of like what I was saying with Luke Skywalker, because he was so famous and ingrained in the minds of so many, in like from the early 80s when the original three movies were out. Many years later that comes back, but Luke Skywalker is this big name. It's like, and then there's been so many writers that came in and did all the canon, like of the comic books and the supplemental books and stories that went around it. And these weren't George Lucas, but these were other writers that were issued to do that, and they kind of gave them more abilities and had them grow and blah blah blah, and became canon to the story. So when you come out with new movies, it's almost like you have to one up it yet again. But when you lay the movies back out,
but then you got to be PC about it, and you got all these regulations now about it, and you got all this bullshit that makes stuff, right? Them like turn these movies into garbage too.
Right. Well, yeah, that's kind of the new influences coming in. But I think the stories that endure over time are the ones that actually work. That's what I keep saying about the current stories coming out now. They suck. And because the strong female character, you can't tell her anything, you can't do anything. She only has to believe in herself, and then she.
But if the Titanic sank, she'd be able to get on a boat before any of us. Okay, so
women and children first. Back in the day.
Just saying. So women want to be equal, but when that Titanic sinks, they sure want to be on that boat first.
Women and children first. Remember that? So you're poking.
Just kidding.
No, he's not.
Okay, I'm just kidding.
No, you're poking at the feminists there, which is that kind of border. That does kind of border what we're talking about. We're trying to stand.
I'm just having fun. Though.
Yeah. You can't poke fun at people. Hey, man, and every piece of humor has got a glimmer of truth.
But see, right? That's where I think like the world went wrong. because there was a time where we could poke fun. And now it is, I need a safe space, or I'm offended, or this and that. When, what the fuck? It doesn't matter. You know, words are just words, and you can, sticks and stones may break, or however the fucking thing goes.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know. You know, I think that's been a big part of
Free
really
speech is shot to
destroying
the
Western
wind.
society too. You know?
Freedom of speech is shot to the wind, right?
Yeah, it is. It is.
With which size bullet you got here? I mean, because you got an array.
I would have to go with 9mm, isn't it? That's the one I own, is 9mm.
That looks bigger than a 22. That's all I'm saying. That bullet right there.
This one looks like a monster.
That's the one I go deer hunting with.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna have a deer after that.
Well, he whistles
Size of
pretty
the gun.
I know. But yeah, I think society's played a big part in that as well, because I mean it all comes together. But the fact that things got to be PC, and you can't say anything controversial. You can't have any you might get canceled because you said
you're trying.
something
What you're talking about is someone who's trying to appease like all these crowds.
That's what
not
Disney
offend
is.
the ones that the squeaky wheels that get all the grease. But I mean, honestly, if you want to tell a good story, you're going to probably upset somebody. Right?
Yeah, of course you are.
Think about how many times in movies that we've used German Nazis as the bad guys. But like, yeah, pretty good bad guy in history altogether. But
And you'll never find a Jewish villain. Because they own Hollywood. They'll never portray Jews as bad people, so you'll never see a Jewish villain. They do this stuff on purpose.
well, certain
You know what I mean?
characters are never put in a negative light, and I think
Yeah.
you're right about that. And it's because you don't want to make them look bad, and
Yeah.
it's like, well, that's not how it is in society. When
Nazis are able to look bad.
When you look around, it's like, well, this group actually does bad things. I mean, why don't we have them do bad things in movies? Well, we're afraid to. Like, well, no. It doesn't reflect reality, and that's when you're going to lose your audience, because it's like, I don't believe
You
it.
can't
because
call bad bad.
unless you go pure
It's bad to
fantasy
call
and
bad
you
bad.
write
Yeah.
your own world and whatever, then you can do whatever.
Well,
you
when
want.
they own it, you know what I mean? When they own it, they're never going to, you know what I mean? They're never going to portray your own race as bad or something like that when it's all just a freaking movie anyways, and it's all for fun anyways.
I forgot to look
know.
that up because you did mention that to me once before. I'm like, I bet you there is somewhere, but
No, I've tried. You ain't going to be able to find it.
I got the laptop here, but I'm not gonna. Every time I try to Google something and look it up, it's like I'm spending way too much time doing this. I need someone offline to
Yeah, like Joe Rogan's got,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
I
Something
need my
like that.
Jamie. I need my Jamie to kind of look shit up and then put stuff up on the wall. And that's originally why I had the big TV back there, because I wanted to project whatever I had up here.
Uh-huh.
But it created a lighting issue and whatever else and some distractions for me. But I think this setup works a little better.
Yeah, but I feel like stories could be good again if they just all got off their high horse and stopped trying. It's all for money. That's all it is.
Well,
you know,
they're
it's all-
trying to appease a smaller and smaller slice of the real crowd that's out there.
Yeah, but the rule doesn't apply to the exception. You know what I mean? 1% of people being upset. Now that's got to F up the 99% who enjoys this stuff.
Well, they want to go to it. Vote with your money.
Screw the 1%.
Go vote with your money, right? I mean, vote with your money. If you don't like the movie, if you understand it's going to be that way, and they have been baiting people like, oh, it's going to be a great movie and this and that, and then you get in there and it's like, wait a minute, you kind of switched the story on me.
Yeah, I seen the new Flash movie with Ezra Miller, got like 23% on Rotten Tomatoes or something, the critics on there. And so now all of a sudden they came out with a new trailer for it that says, and in it goes, we don't want to tell you what's going to happen. There's only one premiere though, because something really crazy happens at the end. And it's like, what a freaking ploy!
You're gonna take all the DC
try to
fans
bring
and-
to try to bring into an audience. You know what I mean? What a ploy! What a little. To me, that's conniving.
Well, I think something similar has happened to like the Indiana Jones movies, and I think I'm very suspicious of the new one that's coming out. And
I mean, he's fucking 82 years old or something.
first of all, yeah,
Jesus.
he's way too freaking old.
Jeez.
I love you, Harrison Ford, man. You did great roles and
Love
so many
Harrison
things.
Ford.
But man, okay, but I have got a sneaking suspicion that they're going to try to hand the hat over to some strong female character, who's probably going to school him on everything in the show.
Exactly, right.
And I don't want to see that. It's just not real. It's just there's a certain amount of suspension of disbelief you can do when you go to a movie, but there's certain amounts that you just cannot take me to. And like, No,
Well,
it just
you
doesn't
know,
work.
I mean, you know, what's his name? Super popular now, controversial guy, millionaire. His dad was a chess player. What's his name again? His dad was a super famous chess player.
And I probably should know.
He's like a kickboxer. God damn it, I can't think
not
of his
Andrew
name
Tate.
right now.
Is that Andrew Tate?
Yeah, Andrew Tate.
I didn't know
Yeah.
his dad was a chess player, but okay.
Yeah, his dad. That's how he
trivia.
became famous, because his
Okay.
dad was super famous.
Oh, okay.
Super rich, super famous. You know what I mean? Who knows how the inner workings of that goes down? But he says something pretty. I don't know how much I agree with it, but it kind of makes sense. He goes, if we're all on a plane and the plane is going down, I would rather have a male pilot than a female pilot. Because he says, because I feel a male pilot will be able to think more clearly underneath stress loads. He'd be able to make sure things happen under stress loads, and I would just want a male pilot over a female pilot, and it strung a lot of controversy. You know what I mean? But I do kind of agree with it, and I don't agree. And that's just one
a testable
scenario.
thing.
But what it means is, when shit hits the fan, I want a male in charge of whatever needs to be in charge in that context when shit's hitting the fan.
Well, I think I don't know if I like that example. I think a better example for that would be like, I don't know, if someone's robbing a bank or something, would you want the men to stand up?
Would you want female police officers or male police officers?
That's probably a better way, but yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the same context, right? When shit hits the fan, whoever's in charge, whoever has authority, you kind of want to be male. And just throughout all of history, it's been like that, though. It wasn't the females cutting up bears, and I mean hunting the bears. They were the one cutting them up, though. But you know,
hunters and gatherers, right?
yeah.
The men are the symbol of masculinity and dominancy.
And I believe that that's a good thing, though.
And I think modern writing has tried to call all male masculinity toxic, but yet they keep putting these strong female characters in that role and giving them all the male masculine characteristics that they call toxic in men. And it's like, but
It's toxic feminism.
that's exactly what it is.
It really is.
100% correct.
It bleeds in. It's bleeding into culture, society, film, everything. And
I don't agree with this, but this is like highly controversial as well. And well, you guys are going to hate me for saying this, but it is kind of a fact. Okay, so prior to women's votings, every soldier was male. You know, they're the ones who sacrificed. That's why it was a male-only thing. It wasn't because people hated females. It was just because males made the decisions about how they're going to sacrifice their lives. And once we got women voting in there, everything changed. It became worse. It became worse because women have feelings, more emotional. They're more touched down on nurturing and taking care of. And unfortunately, in the grimy fucking world that we live in, that is not how things operate. It's not off nurture and care. It is off violence. Everything has been conquered off violence.
I'm sorry, but I don't mean to interrupt. But there was already a big divide between men and women before this came along, and this just added more salt, to the wound.
Yeah,
100%. It really did. I mean,
I believe women should have the right to vote. I'm not saying that they shouldn't.
No, they should.
I believe fully that women should have all the rights as men.
And
I'm just explaining how it destroyed us.
And I think women should be able to hold leadership positions too.
Yeah.
You know, and they should be able to be entitled to do what it is we do to a certain extent.
Yeah, I mean, Hillary Clinton was a great example of that, right?
Well,
Benghazi, all that stuff. Yeah, that was really smart of America to do that one.
There's no sarcasm there.
No, but I think women have the potential to make.
We love sarcasm here.
If you think about it, in monarchy, there's a king, and then there's a queen.
Wait, yeah.
Who makes the decisions?
Depending on
the king. When you sent out an army.
But he would listen to the council usually.
100%.
And she has
there would be a consultation. He would listen to his queen, but when the king was no longer present, and there was a time when the queen ruled, it depends. I mean, I think women could make good decisions in times of war. It just depends on that person. You know? It does fall down to that. But in the bigger picture of things, men are more structured for the job.
It's just through how history has gone through. It isn't even just, it isn't even like a man or woman thing. That's just how it was set in for so long.
Yeah.
So those
It's almost like a
attributes were just acquired to us
So now it's more
over,
like a
over
tradition.
women.
I think
You would say
modern.
more on a tradition level?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, just through thousands and thousands of years of how it happened, men became less sensitive. Women became more sensitive because they nurture, they take care of the children, they nurture, and
And that's a
men
system
are-
that worked and kept our species
Men are
alive.
either out there fighting, or they're farming, or they're out there doing the high intense manual labor. And so when you get people, but women got the right to vote in early '60s or late '50s.
I hate to
something
say
close
this
to
on
that.
camera, but I gotta.
I think we're going to pause for a second and we'll
All right.
talk about women's suffrage when we get back.
How lovely is it to go for a drive on a beautiful Saturday afternoon? Sun is shining, things are great. Got Cub, the dog, with me. Right, pal? Yeah, good reaction. So I've been thinking a lot about roundabouts, and yeah, they're more efficient in lower traffic kind of situations, but when they get really bulked up and there's a lot of people trying to jam through at the same time, and half the people on the road don't know how to manage a roundabout, it gets really kind of tedious and frustrating. Not that there's not already enough road rage here in Michigan, but yeah. But there's some other drawbacks to roundabouts that we don't often talk about, and one thing is, like, just driving around, you spill all your groceries in the back. We all drive big SUVs now. They all open backs. They give you plastic sack grocery bags, and you put them in the back of a flat SUV cargo area. Take one hard turn and slosh, everything goes flying out. Roundabouts are really good for that, especially when you're doing a 270-degree turn. But there's other drawbacks too, like when you got your dog with you. What's up, buddy? You gotta sit up. Talk to the camera, pal. Roundabouts. Here we go. You enter a roundabout. Dang it, that's not traffic-y. Driving through the roundabout, you enter the roundabout, there's nobody coming, so you can go through. Oh, crap. Oh, dude, what are you doing? Crap. Oh, man. Cabo? Did you spill the beer? Is that you? Crap. You got one job, buddy. One job. You drunk again?
Bring us pints of beer. Don't drink, you can live. Bring us pints of beer. We gonna drink now and here. Bring us pints of beer. Don't drink, you can live.
Some dogs just can't handle day drinking. I'd say I'm not very good at it either.
All right, we're back, and a little brief thing on women's suffrage, and I'm going to bring about, in a weird sort of way, maybe even justify a little bit what Johnny Pat was saying. So, but this is what we like to do. We like to talk about things. We like to discuss things, and if we're wrong, come here, talk to us, debate with us. We'll talk about it. We'll listen to you. I'll listen to you if you have a valid point. But I think what we're getting at was, what Johnny Pat was getting at was what I see as the law of unintended consequences. And what that really is when you're trying to do something that's for the good of somebody else or something else, and you implement a change, and all of a sudden that change ends up negatively affecting that person you're trying to help out, or whatever it is. So I can go to an automotive example. I've got a lot of automotive experience. So one thing is the A pillar in a car, which is the two pillars on either side of your windshield, they throughout the years have gotten bigger and bigger and more robust. And what that has done for cars have gotten bigger and heavier, but they've made these pillars much bigger and stronger. So if you flip the car over, the roof doesn't collapse and crush you. So the amount of flip overs you get is far less than the amount of people you collide with, because now you cannot see because you've got a bigger and bigger blind spot in your car on both sides toward the front. So the law of unintended consequences kicked in because now you've created more accidents because people cannot see. You're obstructing your view because you're creating a
they tried to make something safer
for something that happens far less often. And now you're creating this. Now you've got a stronger car, but you've created a view or an issue with seeing. So you've created something that was intended to be better for everybody, but ends up hurting more people.
And I just gotta say, believe me, I freaking love women. I think they are above us in every single way. But there's different roles. There's different things to be had there. And when all that went down, look at society now with women. I think it's in like a peril of conflict. You know?
Yes, there is.
Society has really...
We're against each other and not for each other.
Exactly.
Right. We're
And it's
fighting
like,
each other instead of working with each other.
Why is
Right.
it? Why is it now? I need to be a strong, independent woman. And I've heard this on many other podcasts, so I'll reiterate it. But you know, when men strive to have a high-paying career solely so that they can provide for a family. And when women do the same, it's to be independent. And humans aren't meant to be independent. We're meant to be a family. We're meant to come together. We're meant to be, structurally sound and strong and positive. And
I can tell you it takes a village to raise your children. I mean, and you need those extra people around. That single parenthood is terrible. It sucks.
yeah, but the whole thing with that is women are now suffering from their own decisions, or not even from their own decisions, but because we got the right to vote and all this other stuff, and now women are suffering mega. Women's sports are going down the drains because of all the ideas and ideologies. I know we don't ever want to get into like current topics and all that stuff, really. But
On a conceptual level.
Look at that. A little girl works her whole life, her whole freaking life to be good at something. And some dude can just go, I'm a woman for a week and just do it. They did that with the NCAA.
I know, yeah.
Some guy just claimed for 1 week he was a man, went in, dominated the competition, and as he was receiving his award, he was like, no, I'm a man again. Instantly, NCAA stopped it all. Nope, no more transgenders allowed.
Good. I mean,
so it's like...
I've got a niece who's doing.
But it's women who voted that stuff in.
Right.
They didn't win their award. They cheated their way into it.
Yeah,
not just women, but I'd say the beta males that support those types of women too, right? They're not
100%.
men.
There's many,
and that's the distinction I make very often.
Well, they're simpletons,
right? It's a distinction I make about males, right? There's adult age males, and then there's men, and there's a difference there. There's a real difference between. I think men actually are the ones that take care of things. We protect, we provide, we do everything. We will sacrifice ourselves for.
Yeah, we're
those
stronger,
in our care.
we're bigger body mass, we're more willing to get into danger or sacrifice, whatever needs to be done. That's another huge thing with society, I think. People forgot. This is a good quote. I love this quote. It says, a war is never won without spilling some blood. And what that means is that whenever you try to do something good, you're going to have to sacrifice a little bit. When you love a woman, men sacrifice so much,
Whenever I find myself doing good, evil is always present.
But it is.
Someone trying to take it from you, right? And
people don't want to sacrifice anymore. They don't want to sacrifice to make the good comics. They don't want to sacrifice nothing. Everything is me.
Or as soon as something bad happens in a relationship, they tuck tail and run.
Yeah.
Men
don't do that.
They almost. Well, this is a good example here. Our divorce rate, 90% of the divorces in this country.
80%. 80% of women divorce men.
Yes, they do. Yes, if there's a divorce, a woman is the first to file.
And that is because of that independence. I deserve 1% of the 1% of society. But it's just troublesome. Nowhere does that lead to good intentions.
That's why you're looking at a 49-year-old that's never been married.
I'm 34, buddy. Let me get over there.
It's a little long. You guys have longer arms. No, I think what can we do?
Well, not to touch too much on that, but it was just.
So
when
let me
we
bring
left
that back
off on,
around.
but-
Let me bring that back around. So I like to say we solve the world's problems at one drink at a time, but how do we solve that? Well, what's the solution? It's one thing to talk about it.
No idea,
complain about
right?
it. No, I think
There has to be a solution.
I like a philosophical approach. I think philosophy has become it's kind of a new thing for me, and I like to preach it, but it's also something that's ancient. It's from the ancient Greeks and like the Stoicism. If we teach something like that to all people, and it works with men and women, whether you're religious or not religious, it works. It just works, and we teach people to understand what's important in life and what's not important, and I think people's views will start to change. And when you start to view another person as important, and then the social media clicks like, look, selfie, I'm so cute, and
Yeah, status symbols.
all these beta males going, oh, you're so hot. I'm like,
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, it's then these women think they have options. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, as soon as that guy treats me wrong, I'm
Ton
going
of
to leave him and go with
attention.
someone else.
Yeah.
But I mean, they don't.
This guy, he's liked every one of my pictures. I know I could leave my boyfriend and get with him right away, or whatever the hell. I don't know how women minds works, but
It's all a mystery to us.
it's quite. Yeah.
And we probably should get a couple women on here to discuss this topic too. But it's like, how do we fix this? We need to teach people how to understand and respect each other, and just look at the good value of that.
Yeah.
Know that nobody's perfect, and as long as someone's working on it, it's like I'm willing to give them a chance.
Yeah, but that's what society has curved it. Everybody wants perfect. And when I was going through some therapy, this was explained to me so well, and it was to love the process. And like people don't even want to go through the process anymore. They go through school and they're like,
thing
I
is the
fucking hate
process.
going to school. I hate this. And it's like,
So-
why do you hate it? You're learning. You're enjoying. Probably for you got your student loans, but it's not like you're shelling out thousands of dollars out of your own pocket for it.
Everyone
You're
has
willing to
been
get a
conditioned for
career and
instant
pay it back.
gratification.
Yeah.
Instant gratification teaches you it's like they want the result. Right?
Isn't but the process is where the love is found.
Not
the
only that.
process is where everything is built. You know what I
Right.
mean?
So the book, like the way it's.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I did
Stop
the
pounding on the
I
table.
did the old tapper.
No, the Way of Superior Man is a book I went over a while back, and basically he says that you can take everything I've built away, and I'll be back there again in a few years. But it's the process they have.
Yeah.
Right. It's the process of getting there. It's like they know how to build their wealth and build their
Back to the
dynasty
chalkboard.
back to the way it was. Right.
Back
Because
to the
they have that
chalkboard.
process. It's not the result, and it's also why. Like a father who earns his wealth, the children tend not to do nearly as well because they're born into that wealth.
Yep.
And they don't have the struggle, and they don't learn the process along the way.
I'm sure there's
My
some
dad-
data to go along with that too. That
My
is,
dad-
you
There
know,
is. It's
My
funny.
dad grew up poor. I mean, dirt poor. He retired from the Edison. He made like probably about 120 a year. He did very well for himself.
Nice.
As to where, I mean, I it's not that I didn't gain some kind of work ethic because I'm a worker. I work 2 jobs, but I don't have nearly the amount of success as he did.
Some of that is the opportunity of the times. And then
That is true.
Another thing is you can't pass a job on to somebody. Which is very admirable to work a job, and the job
There's
like
a
your
lot
dad
of
was working.
other things involved
Yeah,
in
very,
that too.
very good.
This one guy said this one time. He goes, "I believe that all the homeless men were just one surprise away. That they just weren't expecting a surprise to hit them, and it killed their whole life, and it destroyed them.
Yeah.
A series of events." And they just happened to have one more bad surprise than somebody else did. And now he looked back on that, and everything is a status symbol. And I mentioned this prior, we've been into pubs many a time. And we've seen all
Just a
kinds
few.
of type of people. And we've noticed that sometimes there's cliques, like smug cliques, that will look down on other people, not knowing their history, not knowing what they've went through,
Yeah.
not knowing their background. But no matter what, they
Pre-selective
already have a negative connotation to these people for absolutely no reason.
Yeah.
And it's
Judging
all
a book
like,
by its
it's
cover, right?
society like that, right?
Yeah. So yeah, you find that the most successful people are the ones that have earned it, and they're usually very appreciative of others that are working toward it, right?
Yeah.
It's the ones that have kind of like meandered into this upper middle class that act as if they're very wealthy.
Motherfuckers-
They have that smug attitude toward people with lesser stuff, and it's like, you don't know their life, you don't know their backstory, you don't know anything about them.
Motherfuckers don't get
And
it.
you're judging them,
Rich
right?
people kill themselves just as much as poor people do. We're all human. We all go through troubles and tribulations and hard times and good times.
Not everybody that's homeless is there because of drugs and alcohol. There's so many circumstances.
Could have been one surprise away.
Yeah.
Wife divorced them, then their car broke down, and then they're in a depressive state, and you don't even know. You know what I mean? And you don't even know what they went through. And here you are calling it, you know what I mean, and want to make an assumption of something when maybe a good opportunity could come around if offered, and it could, would change a life. Or whatever. I don't know what I'm getting into there, but
No, it's a good thing. We're talking about a lot of. Oh boy, I'm losing my point too. But we're talking about a lot of different things, like clicks and I don't know. I'm losing my track.
I know.
Someone save me right now.
I get that from people a lot.
I can't track this guy. What the heck, man?
I tell you, there's too much going on up here. Goes around fucking everywhere.
I actually, wow, I can't believe.
But it's the independence thing, and it's like society don't need to be independent. It doesn't. We're not meant to be. We're meant to come together. And I made this point before. I'll say it 1,000 times again. As time goes on, life should get easier. Yet we got the same attitude, the same things. And life has become harder for people. You ask for $15 minimum wage. Well, what does that matter when meat's $8 a pound? The fuck does it matter? Why do you even give them $15 an hour? Who cares?
Well, the other thing is
all these things. It's
technology has taken away all the hard work for us, right? Now,
so life should be even more easier.
it should be, and
Yet
technically,
everything costs more.
it's physically easier, right? So like I was getting to, I never got to finish the point before, but we were talking about like I was watching some old advertisements for the way of the future, things like in the 1940s, and they're showing like dishwashers and stuff like that, and like,
Oh, yeah,
it's
yeah.
like this will enable you to do so much more on your own. You can have so much more free time with these new devices.
Saves you 15 minutes. How long does it take to wash dishes? 15, 20 minutes?
Right, but
Usually those
think about the
Those
mindset.
dishwashers almost take an hour.
Some of them take way longer than that.
Yeah.
But you know what though? You load it, you close it, you walk away.
Right.
So what the thought process
It's convenience.
was. It's convenience. It enables you to do other things. So what do? We occupy our lives with other things that are sometimes mundane,
Destructive,
or
probably.
some of us that are very high productive type people. We're going to go out. and We're going to do something else that's productive.
Always looking for something to fill the void.
And we tend to do that. And we don't-
Hey, how you going?
sometimes
Fill the void!
sometimes you got to knock out a few brain cells.
Yes. Take them brain cells down, boys.
Just the weak ones, right?
But yeah, for instance, I read this, you'd think that metal, everything would be cheaper as time goes on, as technology advances to make things, right? Now, I just watched this thing about just cars in general. The average price of a car was $32,000. And now it's $60,000. So then you break that down though into your payment plans, okay, and the interest involved in it, and they're paying 4 times as much now for a car, even though it's only twice as much. You're paying 4 times as much
With interest,
because of
yeah.
how much interest can make, how much everything can make, and that just doesn't make any sense. So now the young kids now getting out of college, trying to get their life together, do all their things. It is so much harder for them just to accumulate necessary things like a good running vehicle, and they got to pay 4 times as much as we did 20 years ago. For the same fucking car, basically. What do you got, a touchscreen in there? Oh, wow, that's fucking 40 grand more. That's a real thumbs up to you. That's what you put in ours, and that's what you know what I mean?
The trap that happens there is the other side of the equation is the value of the human being has gone down. And that's what we don't understand. And the fight for minimum wage is trying to push that value up, but it really
So
it
it's
doesn't.
essentially a double negative, right? The value's gone up and the value's gone down.
Right.
It's separated
And we
so
also
that
have
much more.
We also have technology expanding. Artificial intelligence is growing.
Yeah.
It's going to start replacing jobs, right?
Yes, it sure enough is.
So I think, and it may even get into the creativity side of things, but a lot of people are saying that even though if AI can take over a lot of our jobs, we're still going to need creative types to produce new ideas. Getting back to Hollywood,
I was just going to give. I was
Loaded
gonna
full of
just touch
bad
base on it
ideas,
too. Well, just all movies now made in Hollywood, if they're animated, they are made on a computer. Nothing is hand drawn anymore.
Right.
No.
And they suck. I cannot watch a computer animated fucking show. I mean, their drawings suck. Everything about it just is terrible to me.
Some of them
and
are
you go
good.
back into like X-Men animated series, you know, I mean, it was so gritty and so raw and just with you. I appreciate that much more, but maybe that's just
so
because
you appreciate
I like that
the raw
stuff
artwork
more.
of what actual artists can do.
Yeah, exactly, right there. You know what I mean?
So I think Stan Winston, from the guy who did all the animatronics and stuff for a lot of some of the best movies out there, when they started doing Jurassic Park, they started converging both animatronics with CGI. So the first Jurassic Park movie holds up as well as all these other ones. But what they were doing, and this might be the key, they took those puppeteers that did the stop motion, and they taught them how to. They basically created controls so they can use that stop motion and computer generate the stop motion, which made it so much better, so much smoother. Now it's just like they've got. I don't know how it works now. But you're right. There's something not right about the way things work now.
Yeah,
and there's almost too much animation, and it's too much to look at.
It's like the work. It's like the work involved. You know, when you're on a computer, when you're just clicking and drawing on a computer, everything's so much faster. And I get it, right? It's easier. You can put out more content. You can make more, but it's trash though, to me at least. And when you draw, you are fucking putting your heart into it. You know what I mean? You want this. Your name's behind it. You want this to be the best of the best. You know, it's your hand that is sore at the end of the day.
To me, it's a different medium.
But I think that goes along with all works across all of life, right? When
but
you
there
do
needs
the
to be
work
creative-
yourself, fucking, you put way more pride into it.
To me, it's a different medium, and I think it needs to be the person behind it that's actually doing it. So, we talked about earlier. There's pencil. There's colors. Then you get into painting, and then I think the computer screen is just another medium how to do that. So maybe the artist behind whatever's going on, maybe that's what you don't like. Their particular style of artwork.
How comic books were
Well, you
done,
can always tell it's not hand drawn. But go ahead, Rob.
how comic books were done back like in the 80s and even farther back is they would have a sketch artist, they would have a penciler, and then they would have an inker. There'd be 3 different steps to the colorization of a comic book. McFarlane is a good example of it. He had a team of sketchers with him, and artists that would pencil in things, and he would do the rough sketch, and this is what I want to look like, and they would just follow there, just do all the steps. Now everything is just AI is pretty much in charge of just putting together the animation.
Yeah.
I think like they've broken it down a little differently in from what I've seen with some of the computer generated movies. It's like they have guys that work on grass. Like that's all they do. It's grass. So when you look at the scene and there's like 100 different things going on, you can see all the grass blades moving. But look out in the world. Does grass move that much?
I've never seen grass moving like that.
No. And like when an animal moves, it jiggles everywhere and its fur
as they keep
moves.
going
They have
with
guys that work just in the fur.
Eventually, we won't have actors. We'll just have AI generated film.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
And
That's what I'm
honestly,
worried about.
I think I rewatched a couple of Star Wars clips, and it was from the original trilogy. It was actually Empire Strikes Back, and the scenes with Yoda, who was a puppet,
Yeah.
looked freaking real, and he was scary looking at points.
Yeah. When he
And
met
it's
him
like-
in the swamp?
He's like, I'm not afraid.
On,
And Yoda's like, you will be. And it's like, I'm kind of creeped up by Yoda right now. I was back then, as much as I am now.
I love it. But what's cool about that is see how cool that is though, and that's where it's lost too. Is
Right.
that whole story was based off an old ancient tale,
Right.
Of the
One that worked.
of the wanderer who came up as he knew nothing, but really he was the Grand Master. You know, and that was Yoda. You know, you see Yoda, and he was like this little small green alien dude, and making fun and all this shit, and acting like he didn't know anything. Really, he's the fucking Grand Master of them all. You know, that's cool.
So that's another good connection of how old stories that have endured, reimagined through a new medium like in Star Wars,
evolved into
and still works. Right, and it still works to this day. When you go back, like even watching those old clips now, it's like, man, that was such a good scene. That was some good stuff.
Oh my god, that was
and the realism of the artwork behind it, right? So there's puppeteering versus CGI and stuff like that, and like the realism is so much better in the puppeteering in my mind, because it's physically there, it's physically real. And
maybe I'm just old school or whatever, but I still to this day, some of my favorite movies is the first 3 Star Wars. Now I like the next 3 too with Anakin, but the first 3, I just love the oldness of it and how much effort they put in to make something so amazing. But like Labyrinth, same thing, puppeteers.
Yes.
You know, Legend, that movie with Tom Cruise.
Oh, that was good, yeah.
Right? The movie with Tom Cruise. Oh my god,
the devil
that
creature
thing is so good.
Friggin' horns.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was
Man,
Tim
that was
Burton,
such a good movie.
Yeah.
And it's like all the old ones, I love them movies way more than even when I go on Netflix now, I'm like, this looks stupid.
Yeah, most of it's
this looks stupid. This looks stupid. I like you know, you search for an hour before you even find something that you don't even want to watch. You're just sick of scrolling through them to pick something. But yeah, but if that shit ever came out, I'd be like, yup. Labyrinth, yup, freaking Legend, yup, all these good ones, man. The stories, the emotion, everything poured into
So
it.
once again, how do we fix Hollywood, right? How do we fix the storytelling? I mean, I think a lot of it's we vote with our money. If it's a story that we can detect ahead of time,
How you gonna vote for Hollywood?
You don't buy their you don't buy their tickets.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah,
That's it.
It's true.
The adage is
Only
becoming
way
old
it'll
now. The adage of go woke, go broke. I think it's happening.
The only way it'll
It's
change is
finally
with money.
Right. So
And look at what they did.
they want to
Bud
go
Light.
right, and then, right. Good example. Current, just happening now.
Boycott.
Right, and a boycott.
I understand you can't boycott everything, but you can you can systematically knock a lot of people out. If people done it right, they could they could do this, spin a wheel and point a finger and say, okay, we're taking that one out.
But isn't that? Oh wow, we just touched on something that is amazing here. Okay, there's a good point to be made here because that shit never works with anything else. But once it's applied to a drug, motherfuckers are like, nope. Give us our beer bag. Anything to fuck us up, you ain't fucking with that.
You ain't touching my
And
food.
I'll still buy it.
I'm a man.
Because everybody will still, that's the problem with it, don't everybody will still buy it. Everybody will still buy it, you know? And even meat, man. I know a lot of people now are making their own ground beef because ground beef is super toxic to the human body when you buy it from a store.
Really?
Yep. And this was a FDA fucking scientist or something. I just watched a clip about this, and it was Facebook or something, but it was real. and she was like, "Hell no, you do not want to eat any ground beef from a store. Just get a machine, grind your own beef, because when you get this, it's filled with all kinds of chemicals and toxins,
Fillers.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was fillers. It was like 98% something shit. I wish I could bring it up, Jamie.
We need a Jamie.
Oh, step up.
Wargum and xanthan.
So
gum,
if
they're
you work for
fillers.
beer and you're good at
Emulsifiers.
Googling things, we got a spot for you on the podcast.
But that's funny. When it related to a drug, I don't call alcohol a drug. I know it's not a drug, but it is mind altering, or whatever, and we enjoy it. It's something
Right.
very enjoyable, right? When it pertains to that, then people will rise up. But if it's just anything else, nobody
yeah,
gives
it's
a
something
shit.
you really care about, right?
Yeah, no, you don't care about it that much, right? What the hell? That's fucked up.
Yeah, it's funny. Even beer drinking in general. I mean, I had no care whatsoever about the whole Bud Light thing.
I mean, I thought you were gay if you drank Bud Light before. I mean, it didn't fucking matter. If I see you drinking Bud Light, I'm like, yo, you're gay.
You just gay in a dueling banjo kind of way.
No offense to my Bud Light drinking friends.
We're gonna hear the stories later. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
No, it's like growing up. It's like Bud Light was one of the. It's kind of had a choice like Bud or Miller products, right? And then finally we got into the United States came back around and. We started integrating all these different beers. I'm sure you can probably remember this when we were growing up. We were starting to get into the bars and start drinking. These bars were like springing up. Oh, we got 50 different beers. We got 150 different beers from around the world. Like, so now it's like you're trying different beers. Like this is completely different than any Budweiser or Miller product. And then the microbrews came in and saved America in beer drinking. Because the microbrews, it's like now we're back on the map. Now we're actually producing beers that are better than anything else throughout the world. Germany's got their little narrow band of what they can put in a beer. The US is like, screw that. We're going to put whatever we want in there and make some great freaking products. And now we got some amazing beers out there. And I think that's one of the things that made America great again was our beer.
Oh, 100%. Well, Prohibition.
Prohibition fucked things up.
Well, no, it didn't. Well, see, the thing is they learned that people will go to war over beer. You know what I mean? Motherfuckers will die and fight for their beer, and they will bootleg and they will do whatever it needs to be done. So your government's not going to do it. But if you look at anything that's illegal, any drug. They're all enjoyable drugs. Cyanide is legal to buy. Why isn't cyanide fucking illegal? You know, why isn't all these deadly chemicals illegal? You can buy them by the gallons, but it doesn't matter. But yet, you know, weed's illegal. You know what I mean?
That's changing.
It is changing. It is changing now. But I agree that most of the drugs should be illegal. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? Heroin has destroyed millions of families. You know.
Okay, the same goes with if there's back in the 80s they had the war on drugs. Remember the war on drugs? Well, they didn't have a war on homelessness. You know why they didn't have a war on homelessness? Because there was no
wasn't profitable.
To be
and
made.
Who brings in all the drugs? Our government does.
That's it, man.
Our government literally works with the cartels and everybody else to bring in the drugs. So
we're stepping into some conspiracy theories here now.
Where's our red light? Where's our red light?
No, I need my foil hat.
But that's not a conspiracy, though. It's been proven many times, dude. That big politician came in with like 200 tons of fentanyl on his boat. Nobody charged. Nobody arrested. It didn't come over the legal way. You know, I understand there's a medical need for fentanyl, but it ain't 200 tons smuggled away on a cargo ship. It definitely isn't that.
I don't know enough about that crap, but
there was, so it's like enough to kill every human like 3 times over in the United States.
Nice.
On one ship. You know,
sounds like a weapon of mass destruction, really. I mean,
yeah, exactly, and it is. And that's what they want.
Why do you think all the illegal immigrants can come over here? Because they're bringing in the dope.
Yep.
Bring it on over, guys.
They want it.
We'll get that black ganja going, boys.
And black tar heroin.
Well, that's it.
But yeah, you know, not to touch too much on that, but you know.
Yeah, we strayed very far from our original source material, and that's okay. I love how conversations can stream and go all over the place, and we've even looped it back around a few times, which has been good. But yeah, I think another time for conspiracy theories, I think I'd love to go down that path. And I also want to be maybe on the other side of the table and like have a couple of you guys on this side of the table.
Well, I'll get my notes together for that one.
Yeah, and I think
we got some good.
I think we got Chad as a guest coming up, so and he's pretty good on that stuff. And I want to see if I can be on the other side, maybe debunk
he'll
a little
freak your
bit.
Mind out, dude.
I know he does. He's good
he'll
at
freak
it.
your mind out.
I'm gonna have to study up.
That guy is
exercise
wild,
the noggin.
man. I love Chad. Good friend of mine. He, man, the things he's taught me, and the thing that makes it worse is this shit is true. You know, it's never like a faulty thing. People want to say conspiracy theories are true, or they're just conspiracy theories. But when they're true, they're not conspiracy theories anmore.
Not theories anymore.
And people keep putting that on there when they're not. You know.
Well, let's put it. I mean, honestly, there's so much shady garbage that goes on, especially with the government.
It's
you know,
insane.
it is. I guarantee you, half the people that conspiracize against the government, there's some truth to what it is they're saying, man.
Yeah.
Somewhere on some level, one of the word I call it the three great evils: modern medicine, big business, and government. They are all the big evils on this planet.
100%. 100%. Like I preach all the time, we should have micro energy supply and not macro. Why would we ever give our
We have the
energy
technology for
dependence
that.
on one large company?
And we have the technology
Why?
to do so.
Yeah, it's
If-
more than easily.
If big business
able to
and
do.
government
But everything we're
could
dependent on.
legally find a way to sell you crack, they'd do it.
Oh, they would.
They would do it.
I mean, they do it, but there's a better part about it. How about we sell you crack and then we arrest you if you get caught with it and charge you even more money? How about that one?
Well,
Shit.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened
Or we
in
can,
the 80s.
We can take tax money and fund the rehab. Am I off on that one?
Or we could take tax money and give it to another country too. We could do that too. But who cares, you know? As long as the money
I'm a little
gets
off my
spent
base
somewhere.
here, but anyway, I think that kind of does it for today. We're going to wrap this one up, and I think we'll get into conspiracy theories in the next one for sure. So, thank Rob for coming out, and
thank you. I appreciate you having me on, Jay.
Wow.
and coming out for comic books, and my goodness, the gifts you brought, like I'm blown away. I know Johnny Pat is.
Yeah, you know where
very-
my heart's at, big
yeah.
brother.
So yeah, and I've been big on making my own T-shirts and stuff for the podcast, and of course I want to try to get those out for other people if they want them, and I'm going to get you one as soon as I can. So
I appreciate you, man. I do. I like coming on here. I like being able to talk.
you could definitely be one of our irregular regulars as often as you can make it up here. So
as often as I can get here. I mean, I live close to 100 miles away from you. So
that far?
Yeah, it takes me. I live in Petersburg, Michigan. And it takes me almost an hour and a half to get here.
That's a really wow.
Yeah, I got some
Well-
driving ahead of me.
Well, I mean, be planning in advance. We'll make it happen.
Well, he's not drinking and driving, guys. Let me tell you. This is really doing
This
that.
is kind of like my little getaway. I like coming up here. You got a nice area you live in. I like the scenery around here.
Yeah,
Good people, good times.
we got
good
some scenery.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
All right, Johnny Pat, myself, Jason, and good night, guys. Thank you for watching.
Cheers.
Cheers.